Hi, this is Bill Reeks with the Gramercy Institute, and we're very fortunate today to have Joe Holmes, who's the Chief Growth Officer for the Americas at TAG, with us today to talk about a very important topic, and that is how to accelerate marketing transformation with an opportunity assessment. Joe, my first question for you is what is meant by marketing transformation?
It can mean a lot of things to a lot of brands. In terms of transformation or change, as it might be called within businesses, this can be something as small as changing a team, changing a process, changing a function, or it could be something pretty big in terms of restructuring a certain division or a brand, or completely changing the way that a team or a business works. So there isn't a clean answer to that question. It can be small, medium, or large. Um,
Well,
yeah.
well, I thank you for that, and you have answered it very cleanly. Let me ask you this: what are the barriers? What are some of the barriers to successful marketing transformation?
Yeah, I think with change, with any type of change, both in your personal or professional life, there is always a element of change management that needs to happen. And I think that it's probably that point that's one of the key barriers to effective transformation. I think there's a really good quote by McKinsey, which is over 70% of organizational transformation projects actually don't meet their original objectives. And there's lots of reasons for that. One of those is that there are just so many approaches, solutions, suppliers, and models available in the industry today that it's sometimes quite hard to really understand where the availability and the actual baseline is. We hear from a lot of marketers that it's actually that limited view of the true baseline across people, across processes, across technology, which is further complicated when you have multiple brands, that really boils down to having that challenged approach to understanding what's needed for a transformation. And I think it's also quite difficult for a lot of brands to really know where to begin, especially if the change or the transformation in front of them is on the kind of medium to larger size, with the amount of options available in the market. And typically people have day jobs. Actually having the time to really focus on transformation projects like this is something that is another key barrier. And then I think this really all boils down to the fact that very rarely do brands have a real credible business case to go and drive that change. And that's at the center of everything. Before you embark on a change, embark on a transformation, having a business case which is solid in terms of the data that's captured and the people involved is really critical to the success. And that's often missing before brands embark on that journey.
Yeah. Joe, thanks so much. Now, listen, our topic is how to accelerate marketing transformation with an opportunity assessment. What do you mean by opportunity assessment? Could you explain that a little bit deeper?
Yeah, sure. It links to my last point, actually. So, an opportunity assessment is a project which ultimately is there to build the brand's business case, which means that they can actually make the transition or start the change, start the transformation, and do that with a level of confidence. So, it's essentially an independent assessment driven by tag specialists on the available opportunity. And whatever that is, that could be changing a function, it could be looking at their current agency landscape and seeing if they have square pegs and square holes, or it could be a more larger and bigger restructuring task. So the opportunity assessment is essentially there to provide a agnostic readout and a recommendation on the available opportunity. So what it comes in the form of, it's a holistic end-to-end assessment. We actually partner really closely with the brand teams or the procurement stakeholders to figure out what we should be coming in and focusing on. It's essentially a consultancy, but driven by experts in the industry. And essentially, we're looking to build a end-to-end picture of how the operation is happening today. The good, the bad, and hopefully not too much of the ugly. But it's our job to build up a true end-to-end picture of all of the things that are happening today, which means we can then start to build a recommendation for tomorrow. And that's what's really key. It's actually trying to enhance the business case by building in quant and qual data, so we can actually make a change with confidence.
Yeah. Joe, thanks so much. I understand. Can you take me through the process of an opportunity assessment? What are the steps?
Yeah, sure. no matter what size the opportunity assessment is, whether it's small or large, we always go through a tried and tested set of steps to make sure that the approach um, is thoughtfully considered and very clear always for the client and the stakeholders involved. It all starts with a preparation phase. This is where we actually work really closely with the team to identify what are we looking at. There's so much happening within brands today that actually having a really clear approach on the scope and identifying that scope is the ultimate goal of the preparation phase. We want to agree those business case frameworks. So what are the key drivers? What are the key objectives of the business? Is it to drive speed efficiencies? Is it to increase quality? Is it to reduce cost? We then also provide a level of data gathering questions so that the brands understand the types of data that we are going to be needing to actually form the assessment. And then we also really focus on the change management side of things. So having a change management specific session as part of the preparation phase is also really key. So we go through comms planning and tactics because what we say to the stakeholders throughout this process is also really key. And then also we try and map the stakeholders that are going to be involved in the project as well. So we know very early on who we need to talk to, who might be, who's heavily involved and who's potentially informed as well. Once we've done that preparation phase and we're all very clear on the objectives and what we're doing for the project, we then go into more of a formalized discovery. This is the end-to-end assessment I referenced earlier, with the aim of trying to map out the end-to-end state. So this comes across through interviews, through one-to-one workshops as well, where we'll actually work with the stakeholders to really gain that well-rounded picture. We then go through an element of data review and analysis. We look at technology, we look at potential agency partners, whatever we agree with the brand, we actually do in that discovery. The aim of the discovery is to finish that with that full and complete picture, because then we're actually moving on to the solution build phase, which is where we as industry experts will get together and go and build out the future solution. So here we're looking at what teams and what talent could or should evolve from the current state. We look at the different types of processes and workflows as well that may need to be implemented. We also look at technology, and these could be existing technology tools within the brand's ecosystem, or it could be technology tools that are not utilized today. And once we've gone through our recommendation, we then present this back to the client, which is the full readout of everything we learned, what we did, how we got here, and then obviously the actual recommendation for the future. So the aim of the end of this step is to provide that full readout and essentially the business case, which gives the brand that the confidence to make a change or to make that transformation. But they're not doing it with guesswork. They're not doing it with a finger in the air. They're doing it with the right level of data in front of them so they can actually go and make that decision properly within the business.
Yeah, Joe, thanks so much. Now, listen, I imagine it's pretty important for a financial brand to partner with the right partners in order to execute a successful opportunity assessment. What should financial brands be looking for from their partners as they choose the right partner?
Yeah, sure. I think first and foremost, it's the experience in the sector. Financial services is a very nuanced industry and sector and way of working. So what we've seen in the past is that financial services businesses have maybe partnered with a consultancy that actually don't understand the industry and then don't understand the services that exist within the industry to start with. So actually understanding the background, the context and the color that needs to feed into these really important projects is really key, because all of the recommendations need to be grounded in real ground level insight and industry knowledge. So I think that's first and foremost. It's finding a partner that understands the sector, but then can integrate that with the knowledge of the services that are actually that are part and central of the project as well. Also having a partner that's done this before. So there's a kind of quote: every sturdy house needs a strong foundation, and to really build that foundation, having a business that has built studios from the ground up and built new frameworks and new models from scratch is also really, really key. And I think intrinsically linked with that is then having tried and tested playbooks in place. So, coming into big brands and actually delving into their inside operations and getting under the skin of how they really operate needs a tried and tested approach. And And us as a business, having those playbooks and processes already in place gives us a huge advantage when we kind of start these processes. And then finally, I'd say that having a dedicated set of resources to be applied to these projects is also really key. And I think it needs that well-rounded mix of solutions, people, implementation people, and also change management practitioners to all get together to form a successful outcome.
Joe, thank you so much for enlightening us on the subject of marketing transformation with an opportunity assessment. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Holmes, Chief Growth Officer for the Americas at TAG. Thank you so much for joining us.